You ready to rock and roll?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Welcome back to the Mutiny Moms podcast. I didn't do the like the last one.
That was a little awkward.
That was awkward. But that's what we're here for. Just two moms bringing you awkward mom content along with some agronomy. Some awkward agronomy? I don't know.
It's fine.
It's
We're running on caffeine. I am anyways.
Yes. Okay. So for whenever this episode launches, it is Friday, January 23rd, and across the United States, everybody is in preparation mode for this big winter storm, right?
Yes.
Have they given it a name like they do?
I don't know.
Hurricanes?
Honestly, I haven't kept up with it.
Jess, do you know, does this winter storm have a name? No? So Wilma. I don't know. We're just going to,
Yeah.
because they go, so Wilma's coming, and somebody's going to be in the comments. No, the name.
You know, it's always a female. That bothers me.
Yeah.
Like, why can't it be Steve?
Yeah. Willard, Storm Willard, could be coming. I like that. Or maybe it's a couple, right? Willard and Wilma. They've been married for 50 years.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. All right. Back to it.
These rabbit holes you go down are hilarious.
Back to it. So, normal moms say, let me go to the grocery store. Let me think through our safety plans. We decide, let's do a podcast episode. Nothing prepares you more than all things agronomy and what we got going on at Mutiny Crop Performance. But no, we're glad you're back with us. We're really excited today. So many of you across the country, Camille, there's one question that we get from many of you across the country over and over again. And it's a great question. And sometimes we at Mutiny are like, how much time do you have? And what's the question we get asked?
Let me see the data. Do you have any data?
Do you have any data? Which is a great question, right?
Absolutely it is.
It is. But why? Okay, talk through just before we get into some data today. So that's what we're going to do. And we're calling this one, we're going to spill the tea, right? Tea, trial data. I know you like it. I get it. But before we get into, we're going to spill the tea on some Mutiny products and the data as a whole, as it pertains to our philosophy and how we operate. Why is that so difficult for us to answer? Why are we always like, do you have a little bit of time?
Because it's not just did this give us a yield response or not? And we are learning in this space, Kirby. Yep. I will say what I said a year ago is not what I say today, and what I say next year is not going to be the same as what I say today.
Great thing that it's recorded on a podcast for the public to hear.
For sure.
That's called humbling.
Patrick says we have not arrived all the time. Because
for sure.
This space, I fully believe we know 1%.
Right.
1%. In this nutritional, biological, heck, we may not even know 1%. But a lot of times when we add something like liquid litter to our program or we add boron to the program, it's not just use and see result. It doesn't work that way.
And sometimes it does, and it's like huge results, right? And you're like, where's the happy medium?
Right.
Yeah.
If that was the most limiting thing.
That's right.
But oftentimes.
So talk about that. When you said if that's the most limiting thing? So back up a little bit. Why is that so important to us at Mutiny to answer this? Like, how did it do? What was the yield data?
Right. Well, it's all about the most limiting factor. So Liebig's law of the minimum, it's been around, my goodness, probably 100 plus years. It was in all the textbooks.
As old as we are. Yeah.
Right. It's not new, but it's a good way to visualize. Okay, so you've got this barrel stave, and this barrel with all these staves, and if one is missing, your yield is just leaking out. And oftentimes the barrel staves are all different heights, okay? And so you got to figure out the lowest barrel stave and how to fix it before you move to the next one. And so I hear all the time, well, this product's been tested and it's proven and this and that, and it's going to give you 5 bushel. Well,
and
Kirby,
it could. It might give you 15, actually.
For sure.
Right.
But if that nutrient, whatever it might be, was not limiting on your farm, it doesn't matter how much data there is out there. If it's not limiting on your farm,
right,
then it's never going to equate to a yield difference.
That's right.
And sometimes we see there might be 3 or 4 or 5 things that are limiting in different ways. You fix one, but then you have to go to the next. And so you might fix that one, but if you don't go to the next, still might not equate to yield. It is so tricky. You pull on one string and it might change 14 other things.
That's right.
It's very hard to understand, and we're learning.
That's right. And that's why we did want to take some time, though. It's a great question, and we want to answer it of what's the data? How did it do? And we're going to go through some today, and you all will be seeing it along with the screen, which I was like, Camille, do I need to point? Like, where's the screen going to be?
We see people on TikTok pointing.
Yeah, they're always like, a day in the life of me, and this is what I ate, and this is what I wore, and this is what I... So she was like, don't point, which I'm totally now like...
It's fine.
Yeah, but I don't know where I would be pointing. It would look like an awkward mom dance move.
It's fine.
So Camille's going to be sharing some data, and you're going to see it here today. So but I'm really glad Camille jumped in. But our philosophy, which is the law of the minimum, which is we want to address yield limiting factors by farm. That's why we do a ton of tissue testing, is to track in season. And then what's been really cool, especially this time of year, Camille, as we sit down with farms, we're going back and finding patterns and trends on those farms to say, okay, we did 8 tissue tests at V2, V3 growth stage. And of the 8, zinc was the most limiting factor across all of your corn acres. It's just for an example. What does that tell us in terms of evaluating not only our nutrition program next year, but our budget? It tells us a lot, right, about what we need and maybe what we don't need. And I think that last part is as equally important, especially the confines of our budgets going into 26. So, Camille, why don't you hop in? I know you're going to be sharing the screen. What are you looking at now? What's the first set of data? I know we're going to talk about liquid litter. That's one we get a lot of questions about.
Yes, and it's the hardest one to equate because the everyone wants to know, what's the analysis?
Yes.
The sexy analysis. And it's not.
No, what is, like, what's... I mean,
maybe like a 270 or a 411, somewhere in that range.
Chicken poop is variable.
Right.
Right.
And so it's hard to answer, but the data that I'm going to show you through tissue sampling,
it's a big deal.
We're getting so many nutrients into the plant that isn't even listed on the analysis. It's not relative to speak in there, and we're getting it into the plant. So that's why this becomes so hard to answer when we get into this biological conversation, because we see when we stimulate biology, a lot of good things happen and synergize. So this first set of data, this is back 2024, Kirby.
I really like this one.
I do too. And I'll set this up for you a little bit. So this was when they were just trying to figure out what rate of litter, where to put it, where not to put it. We've got 3 products listed on the screen, all 3 of which are awesome products. So Moat is a kind of a universal starter. It's got 2 PGPs, it's got zinc, it's got humic and fulvic in it. It's a great all-around starter. Liquid litter is right in the middle. We know we talk about that one all the time. I love it. And that's at 5 gallons. And then Chaos P, they actually went 10 pounds per acre. Typically we'll do like 3 to 5, a lot of cases. But this is 2 enzymes, phosphatase and mannanase enzymes that help get more phosphorus into the plant that way. And so really neat the way they compared these 3 products to the grower standard of 5 gallons of 1034O. And so what they saw across these 3 treatments, we don't have that big analysis, right? The 1034O has significant amount of phosphorus, but if you look, these tissue samples we're at V10 at the top of the screen. Tissue samples at V10. So early season, this was before I came on board, but they said, man, that 1034 looked good.
Yeah.
It was darker green. It came up faster. Yeah. And they pulled tissue samples every single week. And around V7, and this makes so much sense to me, around V7, the tissue sample of the 1034 started to drop.
Right.
Because when we put that synthetic in the furrow or close to the seed, we are telling basically the mycorrhizal fungi, hey, I've got this, you just sit out. And so then when that product starts to wear off or the plant has uptaken it, all of a sudden the mycorrhizal fungi have to get busy, and they didn't warm up. They haven't had their protein bar, just thinking about sports. And so you see that dip in the tissue, and it really doesn't recover. So this was at V10. We do see a pretty big separation as far as phosphorus in the plant, Kirby.
For sure.
And that's where I get a lot of hang up. Like, we can go put gallons or pounds on the ground, but if we don't get it into the plant, doesn't matter.
What's the point?
It doesn't matter.
So Camille, on this sample, because then people will say, okay, great, that's interesting tissue data. Tell me about the yield.
Yep.
Do we know?
We do know. So the yield was flat. He said it was within 2 bushel on all the treatments. However, we spent significantly less money.
That's the part. Yeah.
Yield was flat, but we invested less money in, so our return was greater. So
right.
This is some really cool data, and I think it was a segue into, okay, let's push forward for 2025 and do a lot more.
Yes.
So this is where it began.
Yeah, this was a great way for us to learn, and I love that Camille gave the whole picture of, I even remember when you started with us at Mutiny, you were looking at this particular tissue set, and you're like, okay, now we know the data was flat across these, but like, what's the ROI? You're like, I can put my farmer hat on.
Yes.
Pretty darn easily. And so, because that's what I want to know. And that's why whenever you guys sometimes ask us, well, what was the yield data? That this whole picture of the cost of the program, what it took away in the budget, like what it took away from to be able to vouch for that, like this whole picture is super important in my opinion.
Correct. Yeah. Well, and then the quote unquote untreated was dry fertilizer.
Yep.
So I'll have this popped up on the screen. The ROIs. I've got that somewhere. I'll have Eric put it up on the screen for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, tell me about what else you're looking at here.
Okay, so the next one is from Iowa. Okay, so this is a really high yield guy in Iowa. Mm-hmm. He's already doing a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yes, thank you. Okay. We have our countdown system, and this is a terrible idea for us because we get entrenched in the data.
I do, and they're like, wait, what?
And we're like, oh no, we have to. All right.
So this next one, this is cool for me. So, out in Iowa, they can grow some pretty good crops.
Yes.
Iowa, Nebraska, we're going to go to several of these states. Mm-hmm. So this grower had been using another product that is an enzyme-based product. Mm-hmm. So I won't mention the name, but this is a really good comparison. So he's got 3 gallons of liquid litter with a gallon of moat, which I mentioned a while ago, mm-hmm. compared to his standard. Okay, mm-hmm. And this is 260 plus corn.
Yeah,
guy.
They're not playing around. Yep.
They are definitely not playing around. And what we wanted to do through tissue sampling is see, is what we did at the planter actually getting more nutrition into the plant, mm-hmm. right? And this guy also has some yield data. I need to go and find that. He handed me a book when I went to his farm. Mm-hmm. But there was a significant difference in yield as well. It was about 8 to 10 bushel.
Sure.
So we see the percentage increase across all these other nutrients.
It's a big deal.
Kirby,
that's not even in the analysis.
There's no manganese in liquid litter or moat.
Right.
There's no copper. So we see again and again and again, and I'm going to show you more of this, that we get this synergism happening.
Yes, I love it. And by the way, Camille, you do a really good job of when you say versus the grower standard, like for this particular farmer who we both know their grower standard program is an excellent program.
Excellent.
And so we're not talking about untreated versus treated.
No.
Or even a lukewarm grower standard program. Like this is a very well-formed one. And so that's really important too in this whole data message. But tell us what else you got today. It looks like we've got a trial out of Wisconsin.
This one got me hyped up, Kirby, because he sent me the data, first of all, which we don't do small plot data.
Yeah.
We want to take stuff to the farm. I want to compare it to their standard, whatever it is, and see if it actually works in the field. So these are large scale fields. And so this grower in Wisconsin, his standard was 4.75 gallons of 1034O with a quart of zinc. He compared that to 4 gallons of liquid litter with a gallon of moat. That's just a pretty typical standard, Kirby. You're going to see that a lot. The soil test data is at the bottom. CEC was 10, 42 parts per million of phosphorus, 138 parts per million of potassium. He did 2 different fields. So you can see the black bars are his standard and the green bar is the Mutiny approach. Mm-hmm. And so that I wanted to start out with the yield data just to give you guys a taste of that.
We did. We answered your question. What was the yield data? But there's more. But wait, there's more.
But there's more. So if you go to the next slide, this is actually what gets me more excited.
Yeah.
Because again, did we get more into the plant? That's what matters. So we've got all the nutrients listed, and you can see I didn't cherry pick because magnesium was negative 2% lower. But holy smokes, look at the boron and moly.
Yeah.
That is wild. Again, there's no boron or moly in either one of those products. Mm-hmm. And so we pulled these tissue samples. This was the mid-season sample. So think V5 to V10. We've got more phosphorus. Look at that early phosphorus number, 0.43 compared to a 0.35. That's a big deal.
It's a very big deal.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
So again, we're not always going to win with this approach. We've seen liquid litter not work. And I think it's more important sometimes to learn where it doesn't work.
Absolutely. And I also think too, it's so important for us to dial it in at the farm level, because whenever I hear different, and this is us holding ourselves accountable, it's not about the Mutiny program winning. It's about the farmer winning. What their needs are on the farm, what their yield limiting factors. The only person that matters that wins is the farmer. And so that's why we like to look at data in this way, because it would be so misleading. We have liquid litter trials that we've heard, gosh, I had an untreated versus the liquid litter and moat, and it was a 30 bushel difference. Wonderful. I did this and it was flat, but I replaced this in my budget and it saved me money. Wonderful. So that's why all of this matters. And that's why we have to keep reminding ourselves of what is the goal in this? And it's for the farmer to grow more bushels and save more money. So tell us what else. It looks like you got one out of Illinois next.
Yes, this one in Southern Illinois. So we don't pull tissue samples every week, Kirby.
Right.
We try to go out 3 times in corn ahead of yield determining growth stages. So we do an early one, V2 to V4, when the weather is conducive.
Sure.
I want sun shining for a couple days. Ideally, I've got about 60% moisture, which is one day too early to plant, if that gives you a good visual. So we did that one. We did V5 to V10 when we're determining length, and then right at VT. And so I included all 3 in this data set. We had interns go out and pull these.
I love your pictures.
And this is, you can see that the percent increase versus the grower standard across the board. So this was, I think, a really good visual with the tissue data, just seeing, from start to finish.
Yeah. No, I love that one. We're going to move over to the next I-state of Indiana.
Yes.
And it looks like we've got another Mutiny program versus a grower standard.
So the pictures, I actually had the intern FaceTime me because he sent me the pictures and I said, there's no way. Like, FaceTime me.
Yeah.
And so we walked the field together via FaceTime, and what he was seeing is what I saw. So the big nutrients NPK stood out on the tissue. So we've got the V2 to V4, the early one, and the VT sample. We've got more phosphorus, more potassium. The moly, though.
Yeah, look at that.
So that pops up again and again. So molybdenum is required in the nitrate reductase cycle. So getting nitrogen from ammonium to nitrate, the cycle. So we see this moly synergism a lot.
And we saw it in a lot of tissue testing data as the most limiting factor, like across the board. So this is a big deal for that piece alone.
For sure. So we just have the tissue data there. I'm going to move on to Kentucky.
Yeah.
This was one that I had my hand in. So again, the percentage versus the untreated. So this is a high yield guy, far from untreated.
Sure.
Okay. So his grower standard
is like an awesome program.
Yes. I mean, he's pushing the limits on everything he's doing. So I was really impressed to see we got P, zinc stood out, and manganese. So those are the 4 that I included. But we went on the treated from a 0.32 phosphorus level to a 0.37. So on that early tissue sample. So really happy with that one. I'm going to move on to the next one because this one excites me.
I like this one. Yeah.
So if you're familiar and you've been on TikTok for a while, you've seen this guy. So Mark Thomas, his
Hey Mark, I know Mark in real life too.
I do too.
Like we were both in high school around the same time, and then sorry Mark, they now know that you're old like me. But we were in neighboring FFA chapters and competitors, so it's been so fun to watch. And he does a really awesome job. So he'll have some hilarious content, and then he'll like share like a trial data set or so I said all this before you did a post about Mutiny liquid litter. So there you go, Mark. But this was not because of this trial that she's like talking Mark up now.
Yeah. I know. Well, so I texted Mark and I was like, do you mind if I use this? And he's like, it's going to cost you.
Did you have to speak to his legal team?
No, I don't think he has a legal team.
Okay.
I mean, some of the stuff he shares.
His mom, Mark, your mom would be a great legal team advisor for you. Sorry.
For sure. No, so I love this so much because Kirby, we get asked all the time, like, can you give me some product? And we just aren't as a company set up to do that. Right. So if you want to try liquid litter, you have to buy liquid litter. And that's just, unfortunately, we're just not a $1 billion big manufacturing company like some of these others that have allocations in the budget to be able to do that. So Mark reached out to me early last spring and was asking about liquid litter. He ended up getting some. He bought the product, and he says that in the video. And this was really cool because he compared it to an untreated, like a plain untreated. Then he had a product Helena has called Nutrilink. It's an 8-2070.
Yep.
So again, we get asked all the time, what's the analysis of liquid litter?
Sure.
And I told you what that was already, but he compared the Mutiny liquid litter with 3.2 ounces of NutriCharge to the Helena Nutrilink and then the untreated. But across the top, you can see that he actually put his ROI. So he had pretty good ROIs. He's got the bushels listed there. So really pleased with what I saw.
That matters, though. That piece of the story, I think, is sometimes what's missing is the, like, we call it making the math. So, like, that matters in all of this, too, right? For
it absolutely
outcomes.
does.
Yeah.
So you can see he spent $29.50 an acre for the liquid litter plus the NutriCharge compared to the Nutrilink. It was $30.50 an acre. Then the ROIs are listed above. So that was a cool one for me to be able to see.
All right, tell us what else. Is this another trial out of Kentucky that I
Yeah, so this is another NCGA high yield guy.
Yep.
So we've got 4 different nutrients that stood out. So 3 different timings, okay? So on the left-hand side, you've got the V2 to V4, then you've got the V5 to V10 in the middle, and then the VT. So we've got all 3 there. And across these nutrients, the phosphorus one really stood out to me.
Sure.
Potassium, and I didn't cherry pick this. You can see the quote unquote untreated, which again is far from an untreated. Some of these were in favor of their program. So we showed all of them, but across the board, we were just seeing these synergies happen over and over.
Yeah. And then the following pictures here is this a reflection of the prior trial, or
let's see that one, that
Kentucky
next
Infero
one
versus untreated?
That is one of our dealers. He actually had a row plug up.
Oh, never mind. Sorry, I've scrolled down now and I see the data.
So this next one, a row plugged up. I remember this one. And this, we actually put this on TikTok, and some people were commenting like, that's a sprayer track. Of course it looks like that. And so they went back and looked through their records. It is not a sprayer track.
Yep.
So pulled the tissue samples just to see where the row is plugged, the treated versus the untreated. You can see phosphorus and boron really stood out. But that MyPath score, 270 compared to a 61. That was a big deal.
That's a big deal. I remember this particular farmer and dealer was at our dealer meeting, and they gave us the yield difference, and I don't even want to say it because people will like adhere to numbers, but it was on the high end of the yield difference between a treated and untreated. And so we don't get locked in on that number because we want to pay attention to all of the other metrics prior to that. We're not saying it doesn't matter, but we want to make sure we're framing it up correctly of what happened, what we saw in tissue, and then, of course, the yield data to come. So.
Yeah, and so we recently, Kirby, announced our partnership with Advanced Agrilytics.
Yes.
And something that I think is very visual here, I'll speak about for just a second. They've got a lot of data that they've just been gathering over the years that shows when you can build a bigger plant by V6, the likelihood that you have low yields is very low. Like a lot has to go wrong if you build a big plant. Now, if you have a small plant at V6, the likelihood that you have high yields is low. A lot has to go right. Yeah. And so this whole concept of building this bigger plant, and I know I've heard it for years. My dad said it, we see some of these pop-ups, the corn will look better, but then it doesn't equate to yield. And so you just kind of have to think about it from start to finish. And so often we just give up. We start something at the planter and then we're just done. But when we can build this bigger plant early and then kind of keep things balanced throughout the season, keep that plant healthy, a lot has to go wrong, Kirby, for that plant to not yield.
For sure. It's like having a, 18 to 20-year-old young adult, right, that has been set up for success. Like, it doesn't mean that nothing's going to ever go wrong for the rest of their life in terms of physical health.
Right.
And all the areas of health, right? But if you can establish those good habits, all of the good things early on, then it can be a big deal the rest of the life. So tell us what else you got here.
I think I've got one, maybe 2 more. Okay. So this one in Central Kentucky, this farmer was not a dealer for us. He just got a lot of products. Again, his grower standard, we do this so often because we work with a lot of higher yield, higher management guys. far from untreated. So he's got in furrow, he's got 2x2, he's running a lot of different things. So he compared our program to his standard. And again, we see this increase in phosphorus. We're seeing this more efficiency with nitrogen again and again. You've seen it today. Potassium increase, which I didn't mention at all.
Yeah.
Did I?
No.
Liquid litter, we don't say it has a bunch of potassium
Nope.
in it. I mean, if the analysis basically says 0. So seeing 21% more potassium in the plant is just really cool. So if you go to the next slide, this is a screenshot that the farmer sent. The Mutiny program's in between the blue lines in this field, and he was just really pleased. The just overall consistency got rid of some of those lower end spots in the field. So he's come on board now as a dealer because he saw it with his own eyes and he believed in the program, and here we go.
Yeah, that APH booster raiser of that matters. That matters in this overall. How did it yield? So
the last one, Louisiana.
Yeah.
So this farmer went out and hand shelled some kernels.
I remember
which
this
is
one.
cool.
Yeah.
So I put those kernel weights into a graph so it's easier to see, so you don't have to kind of squint to see. But the grower standard was no in furrow, so we've got two different weights there. No in furrow, but a 2x2 behind the planter. That was more of a standard as well. Then they added the in furrow. So we've got the in furrow.
Hi, Mike Davis is calling. We'd like to. It's like a radio show. Hello, caller.
Welcome to
one.
the show.
How can we help you, Mike Davis?
So the last one is in furrow. So we've got 4 gallons of liquid litter, 3 quarts of moat, 1 quart of chaos zinc, and the kernel weights were there. So really cool to see that across multiple states, Kirby. We went all the way to Louisiana. We were out in Wisconsin and Iowa.
That's right. This ain't just a Kentucky thing, y'all. So
okay, I do have one more.
Oh yeah,
one more.
Oh, I see it now. Yeah, please.
North Carolina, they did a deficiency application trial. You know me, I've got to keep going and going and going. This one was so cool because we did this on soybeans foliar. So I've talked about everything at the planter up to this point, Kirby. So we went out and pulled tissue samples on July the 10th. Molly came back as the most limiting nutrients in both fields. Okay. So they went and addressed the deficiency, and they used half a gallon of liquid litter, a quart of K-Bloom, and 3 ounces of a 16% Molly.
Okay.
And then they went and tissue sampled again.
Look at that. Yeah. Plus 534%.
Yep.
About 1,098%. Yeah.
So very cool to see that. And I did add one more at the end. So this was from my farm.
Oh, go ahead.
I threw that in.
Hey, I think this is probably the one that matters the most, because when you write checks out of the checkbook, no.
So and I get this, Kirby. Everybody thinks, I think, when you work in the industry for a quote unquote big company, that you just get products for free.
Yeah.
So
did you get this for free, Camille?
No, I pay the same price that y'all pay. So if this doesn't work on my farm, we did this across 2,000 plus acres of corn last year, and we had trials in so many different fields. If this doesn't work on my farm, Camille's not going to buy it.
She's not going to recommend it.
So
tell us
I'm
what
not going
you
to
saw.
recommend it, and I'm not going to buy it. So we have already pre-ordered our liquid litter.
Thank you for your
this
business.
year. You're welcome. But this was eye-opening to me. So where does liquid litter not work? Okay. So we've got where I came on board last fall. We had already spread a lot of our fertilizer. We've always spread fertilizer. We own a Terrigator. So we did 250 pounds of 92330. But then it got really wet. We weren't able to finish spreading. So we had to shut the spreader down, wait until early spring. And by that point, I had learned things that I didn't know. So we changed our approach. We did 20 pounds of a dry humic, and we paired that with 200 pounds of potash. And we went and finished spreading. And again, where does liquid litter not perform as well? We still got a little bit of a yield gain.
Sure.
Where we had the 92330. But what we see is when we put all this synthetic phosphorus out, or we've got a lot of biology working for us, cover crops, you've got a bunch of nutrient cycling happening already, you don't typically see this big bump. But where we pulled back on the synthetic phosphorus, we added some humic, we got the biology really working for us, we put the liquid litter in furrow, very good return, 15 bushel for us. So again, I don't like to hang my hat on the bushel, because I saw it, do 5 bushel.
That's right.
So
that's right, especially in the season.
It be flat.
That's right. So I love what Camille walked us through today. We would love for you guys to reach out to our sales team. So I know we talked about a lot of numbers and a lot of data really fast. If you go to our website, mutinyag.com, and you can find us and connect with us there. Somebody from our sales team, if you want to reach out, or you can just send us a direct message in any of our social media platforms, and we will get you in touch with the territory sales manager for your respective state. So we would love to sit down, have a visit with you, connect you to one of our Mutiny dealers. They could share what's the great part. Camille talked about this in that last one, but most of our dealers are farming as well. Not all, but many of them can say, on my farm, yes, this is what works and this is where it doesn't work. And so we would love to have that conversation with you before we wrap up today, Camille. So we'll come back with more and more of our Spill the Tea episodes. But before we leave, we've got to do a little bit of momming in here. Anything? Fern!
That's the name of it.
It's not Willard and Wilma? Gosh darn it.
Can Fern be a man's name?
Fern.
Or is that a woman's
Fern.
name?
I don't know.
Like, do women women have hormones raging and they equate that with the storm? Like, why is it always a female?
Yeah. We don't know, but we do know that the name is Fern. Thank you to Jess at Wonder Boy Media. And she's also like, y'all are way over time, but here's the name.
Hey, I do have to say something very mommy right now.
Yeah.
If you are one of the cooperators that did a lot of tissue sampling and you saw your data today, please send me your yield results if I don't have them. Because that's how we continue to build this stuff out. Yep. I again, working with farmers, which I is one, right? That's what Patrick always says. We are just busy. Yeah. It is hard to sit down and get some of this stuff pulled together, but that is how we learn. And I always want to see where it didn't work too, because I think that's, again, more important than where it always works.
For sure. Okay, question for you before we leave. What is your one, item that you, for the winter storm, that you're that's not the usuals, like batteries and flashlights and all that? What's your one thing you're I got to have this in store or in stock if we have a winter storm? Do you have a secret item?
So
the confessional.
I don't think I've told you this yet.
Ooh, it's getting good.
So I've actually become, the last couple of weeks, more anti-social media. I'm trying to stay off of my phone. I really feel like going down the rabbit hole, the devil is getting to all of us. We're just locked in and we're not spending time with our family.
Our phones are a distraction.
Big time.
Yeah. But please keep following Mutiny on social media.
Yes, please do that. I have started puzzling.
Oh, yeah. You said that.
I'm a cat puzzle lady now.
Yes. I love it.
So I'm going to pick up a new puzzle this afternoon.
Do you go to Goodwill? I've gotten some good puzzles at Goodwill before.
I have not, but I need to. So we've been getting a couple at Target. And
see, this is the whole pH tester thing. I'm you can find them for 25 cents at Goodwill. They may be sketchy, but they work. And she's like, I like to purchase them new, Kirby. That's a great idea.
Yes, the kids are puzzling with us. We don't do iPads and stuff at our house. We've been really against that. We try to just do stuff that interacts the kids. So board games and puzzles and stuff like that are going to keep the kids interacting with us. So
yes, I love it so much.
What about you?
Gosh, you make me feel
inferior
now because I was thinking food. So she's over here.
I haven't even been to the grocery store yet, and I'm sure they're sold out.
I'm trying to think about. Okay, so I mean, ice cream is always I love a good ice cream.
It won't melt if the power goes out.
That's right. That's right. So I have to, and then I love popcorn. I got to have a good popcorn stash, the white cheddar popcorn. I found one that's the caramel and cheddar mixed together, they do at Garrett's Popcorn. So it's always popcorn. I've got 5 different kinds. Yeah. There's a dill pickle popcorn.
Y'all have good hills to sled on too,
We do.
Where you live?
Yes.
I live right down the road. It's very flat, so we have to go out to the farm. I'm just hoping we can get to the farm.
Yeah. We, Cora, one year, our hill was so steep. I have a video of her, and she was sledding, and she went into the tree line, and you hear me on the phone, and I'm doing the mom, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then it ends, and then of course it's I yell my husband's name, I take off running. So, okay, thanks for joining us on the Mutiny Mom podcast. Come back next time. We're going to spill the tea more on some trials.